The San Francisco 49ers take on the Los Angeles Rams. What do 49ers have to do to bounce back? And we did a film study. Myself, Greg Pinelli, I have some thoughts on the comments from the film study. You got some comments on that. And then I have Coach Dezi. She's coming on to talk about the plethora of injuries that the 49ers have dealt with, soft tissue injuries, Jimmy Ward's weird cast, the knee from Javon Kinlaw. We're going to get into all that and more right now on the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. Let's effing go.
Intercepted. It is picked up by Aaron Rodgers over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Crop Talk TV podcast. Peace. Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And we're back, baby. We're back. We were here last night. You know what I'm saying? I got some thoughts on the film review. All right, but we're back for another episode, another morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central Time. And I'm excited to just chat with y'all, man. Y'all my people. Y'all my therapy. My 49er therapy. And I know some people listen to me so they can get that therapy. I think this works both ways, right? Trey Lance, he posted a picture. He's sitting in the car. He got his boot on one leg. And he got his boot on his right ankle, I believe it is. So does he drive with that big ass boot on? Anyways, someone was like, oh man, invest your money. Don't spend all your money. You're going to go broke, blah, blah, buying this expensive car. It's a $100,000 car, etc. And here's one thing I've noticed, or I've learned. One, in the NFL, you get a lot of stuff for free, right? So, and I responded to one guy, and I'm like, he probably got the car for free. Now, they let you lease it for a year or two, et cetera, whatever. But, and I'm not saying, I don't know Trey Lance's situation, but I'm assuming it's something along those lines if he posted it on his Instagram page. But somebody commented was like, man, the rich, they always get free stuff. The rich always gets free stuff. And I'm like, man, it's not about the being rich. It's about you providing value to a company. So whatever that is, right? Got Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. All right. If you're into player props, higher, lowers, all that stuff, fantasy, football, baseball, basketball, NBA, NHL, hockey, all the stuff. Promo code Crocky. Parlay your stuff together, make you some money. And Underdog Fantasy will match your deposit up to $100. Now, I mentioned Underdog Fantasy because I provided a certain value to Underdog Fantasy. So they come to me, we've done some things, they flew me out, they helped me with certain things or whatever, but you provide a value. So with all of y'all, man, it's not about being rich or poor. You can be a plumber. And let's say you're a plumber, but then you go on YouTube and you post videos on how to do certain things with plumbing. Well, guess what? I know nothing about plumbing, but companies that have something to do with plumbing that can help or whatever, they'll contact you and say, hey, we'll give you X, Y, Z, talk about our product on your show or whatever. Why? Because you provide a value, not because you're rich. It's because, man, like you provide some type of value to them. All right. But anyways, enough about that. And shout out to everybody in the chat right now, man. I'm really slipping right now, man. I ain't talked to y'all about, you know what I'm saying, mental health checks, but we here. 5 Flames if you're feeling good. All right, let's go. We got Curly. I don't like saying that last part. I'm gonna call you Curly. All right. Back to Niner football. Let's go. You're saying get back to now, come on, man. I'm gonna tie it all in together. I don't give a damn about a damn Audi. I'm talking about, man, providing a value for somebody. All right, but anyways, yeah, man, I hope everybody's feeling good. I hope everybody's feeling great this morning. Yesterday, we had a decent amount of people on in last night. And I say yesterday, it was yesterday evening. Myself, Greg Pinelli, we did a film study. And I'd say Greg does an excellent job of talking about what he sees. Now, why do I bring Greg on? I bring Greg on to give the perspective from a quarterback. All right. People invite me on shows all the time. Why? I got a message from somebody right now. I actually have to respond. He hit me and said, Croc, can you come on our show to talk about something pertaining to the cornerback position, etc.? Why? Because I know my shit when it comes to the cornerback position. I know what I'm looking at. I know how to, break it down, etc. So when you have Greg Pinelli coming on, and Mike Shields, you one of them, when you have Greg coming on and he's talking about what he's seeing, it is the wildest thing to me from fans. And, I'm going to bring up a tweet. And this is not to get on y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just my thoughts, right? We're talking, and then we're going to get into some other stuff. But I'm gonna bring up a tweet that I put yesterday. And the funny thing about this tweet was a lot of people, I won't say they pushed back, but they had comments on it as well. All right, here we go. So am I sharing my screen now? Let's kind of zoom in on this tweet right here. And it's really kind of a thread. So let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Nah, it's right there. All right, so on this tweet, you see what I say. Toughest thing about recording Locked On 49ers is not playing into the audience. You want to be more positive for them, but in my head I'm thinking the Falcons dogged the 49ers by double digits and got curb stomped by the Chiefs at home. What is there to be very positive about? And it's crazy because a lot of the comments were, "Oh no, tell it how it is. Give us the real." All right, give us the real. Don't sugarcoat it. The real ones we want to hear. We're not going to be flappable, all that stuff, right? Give us the real. They want to hear the real. So then I bring on Greg Pinelli, and he's talking about the real. And it's interesting because if that's not your version of what the real is, even though this is a guy who understands what he's looking at, knows what he's looking at, understands, concepts and progressions and all that, but if that's not the real that you want to hear, then you push back. And all I saw was a ton of, oh no, you're just making excuses for Jimmy Garoppolo. No, he's talking about what's going on. Greg was talking about from his perspective, if I'm sitting in the pocket, if I'm the quarterback, if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo, these are the things. And he's talking about it more so from the standpoint of coaching. So it's not excuses, right? If Jimmy Garoppolo goes into the meeting room, and the crazy thing is people pick and choose what they want to do this with, because we could do this with Trey Lance and there's going to be that same type of, stop making excuses for Trey Lance because of this and that. And it's like, if Jimmy Garoppolo, right, when he goes into that coaching meeting or offensive meeting they probably watch film on Monday and then they have Tuesday off. Monday they're watching film. The coach is talking to Jimmy and the other players more so like what you heard from Greg Pinelli. You know what I'm saying? So that's more so of what it is, like coaching talk. Do y'all expect this? Do y'all think Kyle Shanahan's going to go into the man, Jimmy, you suck. Jimmy, you suck. This and that. No, he's going to be like, hey, look, okay, this is what we're trying to do, etc. Okay, now the receiver, he can't drift up this way. Let me get on Debo about flattening that route off. Right? Hey, Debo, you got to run harder to clear this out so that it's not as condensed for George Kittle. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we want to hear the real, but is it only whatever your version of real is? I don't know. I got a question. I got a question that. And listen, you are talking to me who I guess if you want to say from just a broad perspective, right? Not a film session, just broad. What's going on with the 49ers, et cetera, Jimmy Garoppolo, et cetera. Then you can take more of RG3's approach, where it is that of, man, your margin for error is probably a little slimmer with Jimmy Garoppolo, as we've seen, and things need to be a little bit more ideal. If that's I get that. But to belittle the good things that Jimmy does, which there are a lot of good things that Jimmy Garoppolo does. There are a lot. And there's also just enough to make it to where, just not bad, to where these things are why it's a little bit harder for the 49ers to win a championship with him. To think that you're going to watch a film session of Jimmy and think like everything is just 100% going to be negative on him, a guy who has like a winning percentage of over 70%. And I'm not saying it's because of him, but that's because he does enough good things. And it was really wild to read the comments and you making excuse. No, bro, we're talking football. That is the conversation in the meeting room. That's what it sounds like. But y'all already know, man. I want to hear y'all thoughts on all of this. So there's a link right there. In about 20 minutes, I have a guest coming on, a special guest coming on, who's going to talk about some of the things the 49ers are dealing with as far as injuries and things like that. These soft tissue injuries. Why do they keep happening? Why do they happen to certain players? Javon Kinlaw, his knee. And she went and she did some digging into it. And she's like, man, I mean, she had a lot of stuff to say about that knee. So I can't wait to hear her come on in about 20 minutes before we get on here. And I got a couple of people that popped in real quick. But if we wanted sugar-coated BS, we would watch all the other sources between you and Grant. I like the real talk. Keep it great. 209, 12,000 subs. We're growing. Let's go. Yes, sir. I appreciate the love. Croc equals Jimmy Garoppolo apologist. I hear you, Gammon. Shout out to Gammon. Shout out to my guy, Gammon. And shout out to all of y'all, man. Shout out to all of y'all. Let's see. If you only want to hear good or bad, there are plenty of content providers for that. If you want the truth, tune in to Croc and Greg. Yeah. And listen, it's just film study. And it's like me, right, when I'm watching cornerbacks. Because I used to hear the same thing. I'd be watching the cornerback. And one thing that from the outside, people that don't watch every single play of a corner, you'll either notice the good or you'll notice the bad, right? Like you'll notice what stands out to you. And when I watch the film of it, man, you're going to see so much good. Like, man, like, okay, this is good. Oh, man, this is a little difficult. And when I say difficult, I'm not making excuses for a guy because he didn't make a play, but just this is a tough position for this guy to be in, right? Let's say Travarius Ward. Travarius Ward got beat on 3rd and long. We actually showed this play in the breakdown. Travarius Ward got beat on 3rd and long. And is it an excuse that I'm saying, you know what? Tough position for Travarius Ward. They're in quarters, cover 4. They did a really good job of taking the safety out of there with a post. And then now he's one-on-one. He has to kind of play the sticks because it's 3rd and 15. But then it's tough when a guy just goes by you full speed and he gets beat. It's not an excuse. I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you why that is a difficult position for the corner. Not an excuse. He got beat. But I'm just talking about like why it played out that way. All right. Here we go. I got my guy, Medic Mike, coming on. Medic Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Croc. What's happening?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good. You know, we was giving Greg a tough time last night. We was one thing though, and because I'm gonna keep it real from my perspective, I feel like there's so much vitriol against Jimmy that you start talking out both sides. Greg was talking out both sides of his mouth at times. I feel like he got frustrated, and then there was analysis, and then if you're doing analysis, you're going to hold everyone with the same standard, right? The standard's going to be the same. The analysis definitely was not the same between both quarterbacks. And then near the end, one thing you asked him was, how's the team supposed to improve? And I heard him mention leadership. There needs to be more leadership on the team. When I've heard you, I've heard Peacock, I've heard Greg all say, everyone loves Jimmy. He's a great leader. He does this, that, and the other. If you are a great leader, when Jimmy misses the wheel route, when he threw the pick on the goal line, you don't make the excuse was when you say, oh, Trent Williams got demolished, he got beat. He did. Should Jimmy have made that wheel? Should he have seen and recognized the blitzer and hit that wheel pass? Yes. JT O'Sullivan would have said that, and he would have been like, you have to hit that. As an NFL quarterback, you have to hit that.
You're talking about not the wheel, but the little Texas route or whatever. The route,
my bad, not the wheel, the Texas, yes. The Texas route, yes, that's what I was talking about. So when you see that, it's like, okay, it starts to sound like an excuse. And then you see the pass Mahomes hit down the field, the 50-yard pass, a little behind the receiver, still makes a pass, great pass. And then, oh, you know, if he threw it here, it's this, that, and the other. Okay, I get it. And then you look at the slant to Debo that was behind him, which Debo should have caught. Two things can be true. There's also a bad pass. It was a bad pass. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I mean, anyone can see that. You can't tell us the sky is red and we're all looking at a blue sky. Like, there's some things, I mean, Greg is the expert. He can break it down from a technical standpoint that none of us can. There's no disputing that. He has those technicalities down. But when it comes to winning, executing, there's certain stuff that's black and white on the field. You make the play or you don't.
Right.
And that's what I do not agree with. Jimmy doesn't sit up there and take responsibility, and then everyone has an excuse. I heard Peacock also say, who took me out of context, by the way, because I said Jimmy had a good game, that game against Falcons. But I heard him make an excuse. Oh, sometimes Jimmy's inaccurate. He protects the receivers. He throws behind them. He almost killed George Kittle last year against the Seahawks, and he's the one who got his knee hyperextended against Arizona. So Peacock's talking out both sides of his mouth. Like, you're contradicting yourself. Like, and these are specific examples. And then this is why it's like, oh, here we go, making an excuse for Jim. No, you are not playing well. And I wanted to ask you this. At what point do you think Kyle Shanahan should be on the hot seat? Because him and Jimmy been there since 2017, Jimmy coming later. But they have only been in the top 15 in scoring one time, 2019. They were number 3. The other years were they were 15, 19, 22. This year they're currently 20, and I think they're 21 another year with all these weapons. So at this point, 2019 actually looks like the outlier, and that's based on evidence that we're looking at. And so when someone tries to talk about the contrary, then it's like, I'm looking at all this evidence, and you're trying to tell me something different. So why do you think he's not on the hot seat?
I think that if you remove the excuses for Kyle Shanahan, right? And you look at what he's done in now 6 years at this point, right? Under 500 in year 6, having 3 seasons under 500, 2 where you went deep in the playoffs or to a Super Bowl.
Right.
I would say that with it being a little bit more so carried by the defense, with a lot of that, I think he has underachieved as the offensive guru. And it's hard to say that because it's like, well, he had a lot of success in a couple years, et cetera, and it was really good. But just in the sense of what you think you're getting, right? I thought that the 49ers were planning on, especially when you draft Solomon Thomas, you draft Reuben Foster, Kelly Witherspoon, like those are like your first 3 picks. You're going defense, and you want to build that defense. And they did build a defense, not so much because of those 3 guys, but just in general, they built a great defense. Kyle's offense is supposed to complement that defense to where now this team is unbeatable, right? Like you get all the weapons, you get this and that, you trade for a great offensive lineman, et cetera. You got these explosive running backs. Raheem Mostert, people just can't tackle them. Like, this is supposed to be one of the most explosive offenses in the league. And based on that, with what you've gotten from the defense for the most part, right? Because most years the 49ers have a top 10, top 5, top 3 defense.
Right.
You're supposed to be much better offensively. But even then, early on, I asked a question about Kyle Shanahan. I said, man, why does someone with so many weapons lean so much on the defense? And there are a lot of people, oh, man, you will. Look at, the offense don't have to do this, that, and that. It's like, dude, you got weapons. Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Juszczyk, now Christian McCaffrey. Why is the philosophy to lean on the defense for them to not crack? I think this offense should be much better than what it's been consistently, right? And you haven't gotten that version of the team. So I think Kyle Shanahan, it's hard to say this because, again, those 2 years, but he's not really holding up his end of the bargain of what he's supposed to be. If you want to be a defensive-led team, then you don't have to hire a Kyle Shanahan. You can hire a D'Amico Ryans to be your head coach. You can hire a Rex Ryan to be your head coach. You can hire a Robert Saleh to be your head coach if you want that philosophy. But that's me being a little bit more, why I think there is a chance that I think he should be on the hot seat. I don't think he is on the hot seat.
Okay, so what is and what you think are different? You think he probably should be, but he's not.
If I were the owner, I would be asking the questions, why is my offense not better?
Right.
You are the offensive guru. You have the horses. I traded all this for Trey Lance. Now he's hurt. But I traded all this for Chris McCaffrey. We traded at the deadline for Emmanuel Sanders. We traded for Trent Williams. You've done all these different things to help the offense out, and you still lean on the defense to win you games. Like
Right.
you how many times have we seen them just, rattle off 30-point game, 30-point game, the version of the offense that we saw from the Chiefs to be able to put up 44, and it was just like, man, can't stop them. You don't really see
Right.
those type of offensive outbursts from the 49ers. Like, why?
Right.
And that's the part where if I'm the owner, I hold him accountable for that. Like, I brought you here to bring a certain type of fireworks, and that's going to help me sell seats. You're not doing that.
Right. And now Callie brought this up, so I got to give him credit for this. Do you think it's the scheme? Because he talked about the Rams and the Packers, who run similar schemes to what the Niners do, and how their offenses are all struggling. Do you think the league has now started to catch up to Kyle Shanahan's scheme? Or his scheme doesn't utilize the current rule sets that actually favors, airing it out in air attacks?
I definitely the league always catches up at some point. And with so many there are different variations of his offense, but they typically have similar concepts. And we've seen that with the Seattle 3 scheme, right? Where it was like that was the defense in the league. You saw everybody running that defense. And then all of a sudden, teams started attacking in certain ways. And now you don't really see anybody. It's like, let's get out this single high, right? Like, that's not going to be the basis of our team. So at some point, the league will catch up, and you have to have a curveball. And I believe that Kyle Shanahan has the weapons to throw that curveball, but it's looking right now like he maybe not. Does he not have that in his bag? And we're gonna see.
Yeah, I mean, only time is, time's going to tell there. But I appreciate all your content, Croc. I be coming with the hard questions, and I got no qualms about disagreeing with y'all. But like and subscribe, everybody. 20,000 by February. It's going to happen. I'm going to speak that into existence. Appreciate you having me on, Croc.
All right, appreciate you too. All right, now I have a couple people waiting to talk. You guys, if you want, you can click out because I have my guest on. So I'm going to bring my guest on to talk about pertaining some of the injuries that the 49ers have dealt with, soft tissue injuries. If y'all have questions for her, then I can keep y'all in the kind of backstage and then bring you on for a question for her. But and if that's not the case, then I'll bring you on when she is off. All right. First, I do have some super chats to get to real quick. And who is that? All right, so keep it real, Croc. Great content last night. Not just a breakdown. It's more teaching. It's more of a teaching lesson. And that's how, Greg and I, we try to come with, is there a way to kind of educate, right? Because there are so many content creators out there for the San Francisco 49ers. And if you don't bring something different, then we're all just doing the same thing. So I think Greg especially does a really good job of bringing a different perspective as opposed to just the same storylines that everybody else talks about, or these wild created storylines, which y'all know y'all not going to get from me, not going to get from Peacock, not going to get from Greg either. We're not going to just make up some wild stuff. People are like, well, what do you think about the 49ers trading for Geno Smith, and then they trade Trey Lance, and it's like, bro, I'm not even gonna entertain that question. All right. But yeah, Kyle might be better as a coordinator where he can focus more so on the offense. Look at Todd Bowles. In the past, he couldn't run on his defense. Now look, I think there is a scenario of that as well. Somebody just being a better coordinator than head coach. And sometimes you just need the CEO guy. Or look at Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh was a tremendous defensive coordinator for the 49ers, extremely smart, extremely intelligent. He went to the New York Jets. He's not the defensive coordinator. Jeff Ulbrich is, right? So he just delegated that job entirely. Let me be the CEO. Let me manage this team. And it's working out right now. Now, they haven't played the best teams during this kind of hot streak that they're on. But at the end of the day, a team that people probably would think would be one of the worst teams in the league, like bottom 3, they're 4-2 right now. And that's tremendous for Robert Saleh. He's the CEO. He's not the defensive coordinator right now. If Kyle is going, who would you hire as a coach? I don't know the answer to that right now, but I will say this. I think people assume like, well, if you fire Kyle Shanahan, somebody else is going to pick him up right away, which probably would happen. But then they also assume that there's no other options out there for somebody. Like there are so many coaches out there right now that do well out of nowhere. Like there are always guys that you can hire. Who is the coach for the Minnesota Vikings? What's his name? What's the Minnesota Vikings head coach name? Hold on. He just got hired. His name is Kevin O'Connell. All right, so Kevin O'Connell, and whatever his background is, I don't know. But I'd assume if I was just like, all right, guys, a great hire for the 49ers will be Kevin O'Connell. You guys probably be like, man, who the hell is that? But let's look at where the Vikings are right now in the standings. All right, so we're going to go to NFL standings. The Vikings are 5-1. The Vikings are 5-1 right now with Kevin O'Connell, a guy who most of y'all probably haven't even heard his name before I mentioned it just now. All right. I had to Google who's their head coach. So there are always people out there that can coach. There's always options. You don't have to. That's like and I'm not trying to, I want to be very, very, what's the word? Careful when I say this, but being in a relationship, right? It's like, man, you just stay with somebody because it's like, well, I'm just comfortable with this person and, well, I can't do any better out there. It's like, that's not true. Like, you don't need to go out there and look. Like, you could probably find somebody that treats you better, that does you better. Like, yeah, that does more things that you like. Like, what? You don't got to stick with somebody just because you're comfortable with this person and this person is supposed to be this version of what you think excellence is, and they're just not. All right? I think that's what's kind of going on with Kyle right now. Now, again, last year we saw he was able to make it out of that little rut he was in, but, we've always seen these different scenarios. I think I got one more super chat. 1 second, then I get to my guest. Head coach Bieniemy. For some reason, people don't want to hire Eric Bieniemy. So I don't know what that is. Why? Right? Ken Dorsey. There you go. Offensive coordinator. He's a quarterback coach for a long time. Now he's been the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills this year. So man, there are options. It doesn't have to. Oh, Kyle, and he drafted Trey Lance. He's the best thing for Trey. Maybe he's not. Maybe Kyle, in his coaching style and how he is not the best thing for Trey Lance. Maybe Ken Dorsey is, who worked with Cam Newton. He was Cam Newton's quarterback coach heading to a Super Bowl MVP season. I see Mike Kafka in the chat right now. There are options. There are options. Even for developing Trey Lance. It does not have to be Kyle Shanahan. Andy Reid, long tenders, one ring. Just saying. Right. All right, here we go. I got a guest coming on. A special guest. Okay. And I met this guest in Atlanta. So this is not last week, the week before. And she listens to, the podcast and all that. She's a 49er fan. Met her at a 49er get-together. And I said, I'll bring you on the show. And I don't know if she believed me or not, but I definitely brought her on. So good morning, Coach Dezi. How you doing?
Good morning. Thank you. I totally didn't believe you.
I told you. I know. I was a little, we was out. Everybody was all drinking and stuff, having a good time. But I'm like, no, I'm bringing you on the show. And I'm glad you reached out to me so we can make this happen.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Before we get into the injuries and things like that, because I think some of the things that you were talking about and brought up about, and we'll start with Javon Kinlaw because the 49ers invested a lot in him. But I want to get kind of your overall thoughts. You were in the back kind of listening. And your thoughts just on, and I don't want to hit the panic button on anyone, but your thoughts just kind of on what's going on with the 49ers right now.
Let's just say I think we need our bye. I think we're all just waiting for that bye. We're like crawling to that week where we can just have a rest. And I think from an injury standpoint, I think it's going to be really good for us. I think there's some players that are they've got some nagging injuries that I think we're just trying to put out there because they're maybe better than a backup, but they're not 100%. And so us as spectators are looking at them expecting they're 100%, and they're just not quite there yet, able to give it to us. And I think that's what happened in the Chiefs game last week. I think there was a few folks that came back not 100%. We had expectations. We were riding that Christian McCaffrey wave, and we got overexcited. And I think we need the bye. It's a rough season so far. I don't think I'm going to say anything we haven't already heard.
It is a rough season, and the 49ers have definitely dealt with a lot of injuries. And I want to start with Javon Kinlaw. The 49ers invested a lot in him, right? You trade DeForest Buckner away. You're thinking like, oh, man, we trade DeForest Buckner, but get Javon Kinlaw, a guy that has all this talent. He's a massive human, a massive man, and you drafted him number 14 overall. And you think, oh, this is the DeForest Buckner replacement. Well, it hasn't quite worked out that way because there have been injuries that kind of slowed down the progress and whatnot. But there were some notes that came out eventually that maybe there was some pre-draft concerns with something going on with his knees. So I don't want to even guess what it is. I would love for you to kind of talk about what is it that, well, first, actually, let me rewind. What is it that you do? Let's start with that so people just kind of know a little bit of what you do and your background. I should have led with that. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm a physician assistant. I've been practicing medicine for almost 20 years. I've spent time in emergency medicine, orthopedics, and I now own my own practice in prevention and weight loss. So I have been a diehard 49er forever. And that's actually kind of how I got into being a PA. I wanted to be an orthopedic PA. I wanted to work in sports. And that's just kind of where my passion for sports turned into a career. So that's my background.
Awesome. All right. So that's great stuff right there. So now we can talk about Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah.
Were there any red flags heading into the draft process on Kinlaw and maybe something going on with his knees?
I'd love to tell you there wasn't, but there absolutely was. There was some tendinitis in both knees, as a matter of fact, that were of concern. He had a labral tear of his hip. He had some back injuries. This was all coming in. Now, the thing about tendinitis in the knees is that tends to be a chronic problem. I wanted to try to look up to see if maybe he was a dual athlete. Maybe he played some basketball. That tends to be, kind of, we see tendinitis and jumper's knee in basketball players. That can be a nagging injury. The other part of that is young athletes now, they tend to get pigeonholed in one sport. And so you're starting to see overuse injuries happen at a younger age. And so I wonder if this isn't part of that new generation that's coming through where they weren't able to do all the things and play all the sports. So you have this tendinitis, and that's just inflammation of the tendons. It's hard to calm down if it's an overuse injury in most cases. And that was kind of a flag coming in. So then he comes in, and interestingly, I found after he had his ACL reconstruction, there was a quote that I pulled up that was documented. It says, evaluation of knee and surgery confirmed suspicions that ACL had chronic changes that would be best treated with ACL reconstruction. Now, they didn't come out and just say it was a tear. It wasn't like there was this injury and it just, an acute tear, and they went in and did a reconstruction. They specifically said chronic changes. And so that chronic changes can be from multiple sprains, maybe a partial tear, maybe a little avulsion. An avulsion is a fracture where the ligament is pulled a little bit from the bone and it fractures at that site, at the insertion site. So this, unfortunately, this is not going to go away. This is a chronic issue. He's got chronic problems. I feel for the guy. I see the potential. I see why they drafted him. He plays one of my favorite positions, and I want the best for this guy. And I don't know if now with PRP out there, I'm not sure how much we're going to be able to get this guy without just kind of nagging injuries constantly coming into play.
That's tough. And I like that you followed up with how much you like him, because I don't want him to suddenly pop in here and say that he got bigger nuts to nest. So
yeah,
I appreciate you giving him his flowers while also saying this is a little bit of a tough situation that he's going to probably have to continue to deal with throughout his playing time. And
life after
life.
sports. I mean, this is long term. The other thing, you pointed it out the other day too, where these guys, they're not robots, right? I mean, and they, I think, what was the quote you actually said? You said something about how they love to prove people wrong. And yeah. I want this guy to prove us wrong. I want him to prove this. I so want that for him. And there's possibilities. I mean, it's still young in his career. I hope he's doing a lot of mobility work. I think that's going to be super helpful, but he's exactly a year out from his ACL reconstruction. So he's still kind of young in that rehab phase. So I'm going to stay hopeful.
All right, so enough of Kinlaw right now. Hopefully, he comes back and battles back and through adversity. And it seems like he's someone that he has had to overcome a ton of adversity. So hopefully, he does so with this one as well. There has been this kind of big time issue. Two things. All right. So first, I want to get to the soft tissue injuries. I'm going to ask you about soft tissue injuries and high ankle sprains. All right. But soft tissue injuries is something that has kind of bitten the 49ers. We've seen it throughout a lot of their players just as early as last week. I think it was like Deebo Samuel, especially now, right? He has something going on, soft tissue injury, groin or whatever. Nick Bosa, and they're completely kind of like different built guys where you have Nick Bosa that has like 0% body fat. Well, not 0%. I mean, he'd be dead, but like, very minimal. And you have Deebo Samuel. He's built a little different. So maybe they have these soft tissue injuries for different reasons. But why this sudden, and I don't want to say sudden, why so many soft tissue injuries? Why do they typically occur? And how do you prevent them from happening?
So interestingly, with Deebo, I can speak specifically for him. I pulled up his injury history. He's had a number of hamstring problems. And really, once you kind of have a strain, which, could be micro tears within the muscle itself, or at the attachment where the muscle kind of pulls into a tendon, the recovery part, you're going to build scar tissue and replacement. Scar tissue is never as flexible as the original tissue. And so now you have a chance to re-injure that same spot if you're not very careful and rehab appropriately. So I think, Deebo runs that risk. He's had, hamstring strain in 15 and 16 and 2020, twice in 2020, as a matter of fact, October and December. And here he is again. I think it's another hamstring right now. So, I think it's just now he's dealing with scar tissue, and that's just not going to be as pliable. So if you're doing these high power, Deebo's got like 4 people on him. He's still trying to run through, and there's going to be some kind of breaking point in that tissue. Guess where that breaking point is going to be? It's probably going to be in that spot where he was previously injured.
Right. So if you are Deebo Samuel, right? Let's say Deebo Samuel is watching. How would you say, you know what, Deebo, these are the things that you can do to potentially prevent this from occurring?
It's the unsexy thing. It's mobility work. It's really mobility work, neuromuscular training. That's your plyos, the things that I've seen athletes do. That's the question. I'd love to kind of get in and see what the strength and conditioning coaches are doing. See kind of like the backside of what's happening, because this isn't the first year we've been a big injury prone team. This seems to be a recurrent issue. And I don't really know, where the answer is without knowing what the current status looks like. Well, how are they actually dealing with these injuries on the back end? It's so hard to answer that question. I'd love to have that answer because I want to go in and just, let's do this, let's do that. But I mean, mobility training is really, really important. I think if you look back, I think Lynn Swan is the first one I remember hearing about. He did dance training, and dancing is the unsexy thing to do for big burly athletes. But really, it's a lot of neuromuscular training, and you're putting your body in certain positions that you may find yourself in as you're tackling, right? Or as you're being tackled. You're learning to jump and land and not have movement in that joint, have a strong supporting system around the joint. That's where a lot of knee injuries come from, imbalances between quads and hamstrings, or, even between the quad itself, between the 4 components of that quadricep muscle. There's just so much to it. I could spend multiple podcasts talking about the different ins and outs of this, but really it comes down to what is happening with your strength and conditioning team. I would love to know that. I think we're like number 2 behind the Baltimore Ravens right now in the most injured team.
They might be going back and forth with the 49ers.
It's by a small margin.
The 49ers were number 2 heading into Atlanta. After Atlanta, 49ers were number 1. And then now Baltimore might be edging them out again. And that's not something that you want to be leading in right there, being the most injured team. Last question. There's some questions people have in the chat for you. So I'll bring those questions up. There's been a couple like super chats, a couple questions people have had. So we definitely will get to those. And if you feel comfortable with people coming on and maybe asking you some questions, if you have a few minutes,
Yeah.
maybe we could do that as well.
Fun. This is an experience. I'm so excited to be here. So whatever I can do. I can't promise I have all the answers, guys, but I'm certainly here I'm here for everything.
All right. So high ankle sprains. I feel like that's something that has kind of bitten the 49ers as well. And I dealt with the high ankle sprain actually my last year playing football. And it was really weird when it happened. First of all, I thought I snapped my ankle in half. Like that, I've never been in such pain. And I'm not somebody that had ever been like really hurt. Throughout my entire life, I never got hurt, ever. There's not one time where I missed a game. Well, I got hurt. I got banged up or whatever. I had little things. But I never missed a game until the high ankle sprain, which was the last time I ever played. Thought my ankle snapped in half. I thought I was going to look down and see it pointing in the other direction.
Yeah.
Ended up being what they told me. Oh, you just got an ankle sprain. I'm like, okay, ankle sprain. All right. So they taped it up, and I'm at practice. You know, they did some rehab stuff. Walk on your toes. You know, use a resistance band and do the alphabet. You know, all those type of things. Then they had me practice, and I'm collapsing on the ground. And I'm like, why did my ankle just give out like that? I was able to run in a straight line, but I could not do any lateral movement at all. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the hell is a high ankle sprain?
Oh, I need diagrams. So in your lower leg, you have your tibia and fibula, right? And so they are kind of right next to each other. There is connective tissue between the two that helps stabilize them so they're not just rolling around next to each other, right? So when you have a high ankle sprain, it's a shearing force that creates disruption in that attachment between those two. And so it is a different type of ankle sprain. It's not like the classic roll your ankle and you just have the swelling on the outside. It's completely different. So the pain is different. I often hear people saying that it feels like a fracture. It's quite painful. I mean, and that's the lateral movement, right? Because if you're doing lateral movement, you've got shifting of all those bones where you have a disruption of that connective tissue, and that's just going to be, you're going to feel it every small turn you make, move you make, you're going to feel it.
Yeah, and I definitely felt that. I was able to run in a straight line, but the moment I tried to cut, it just kind of would give out. And I remember seeing myself on film, and I'm like, there's got to be something else going on here. Eventually, they took me in for an X-ray and an MRI of the ankle,
Right.
and then that was when they were like, oh, it's not a regular sprain. You have a high ankle sprain, and it's a little bit more severe than what we were initially thinking. So that was tough. How much do you think turf contributes to these injuries?
I knew that was going to come up. I briefly looked at a couple of studies looking to see if there was anything updated. I think the most recent thing I found, I think, was 2016. I mean, the statistics are there. I mean, the turf is a problem. It definitely causes, ACL, more stress on the ACL. And so that's why you see tears, sprains of the ACL, things like that. I think I saw, and again, guys, this was real brief. I was kind of looking at this. There are other studies that sounded like, from the NFL's perspective, they needed more studies to document, is it the shoe that's causing it in conjunction with the turf? It's hard to isolate whether it's the turf itself. There's different type of turfs, whether how slick it is versus how much grit there is and how hard it is are the two ways. And there's different companies that make those in different ratios.
Yeah.
So some will, there's no cookie cutter answer there. I think we as 49er fans know the truth, right? We've seen enough at the Jets and Giants Stadium up there to know. I think I even made a meme one year. I think it was 2020. I was like, the 49ers pulling up to the stadium, and it was a bus. It was an ambulance bus, because it's just painful every time we have to go up there. There
I
it
have
is.
a question.
CRP.
I have a question here for you, and obviously, I'm joined by Coach Dezi, so I haven't introduced her in a while. If you're just now joining, we got Coach Dezi on here, and question for you here: the PRP injection, could that help? And I'm assuming this came up a while ago, so I think he might be talking about with Javon Kinlaw.
I thought about this up, down, and sideways. Generally, those chronic conditions, I'm not quite sure how successful they are with those. I actually have administered PRP for orthopedics There is some help we were doing it more for osteoarthritis. It's hard to get, if he's got tendonitis of the like patellar tendonitis, it's hard to get PRP in there, right? You can't get it there. And doing an intra-articular injection into the joint itself is not going to get to that tendon. In some cases, like maybe if his current knee issues are coming from the ACL reconstruction, maybe there's an opportunity. It sounded like there was some effusion, which is fluid buildup in the joint, so maybe there's an opportunity there. PRP for sure. I wonder if that was used in his surgery, because that's where a lot of PRP is being used, is intraoperatively, where you're putting in the way they put in the ACL reconstruction. They kind of go through the femur to anchor the top part of the ligament, and they can put some PRP in through that. Sometimes they even do some bone harvesting as well. But be interesting to see if they have already tried that. But I think it's an option at this point. Let's try it. Let's get the man, something. Let's see if we can get him in the best shape he can be.
We have Gammon here, and Gammon asked a question. He says, Coach Dezi, I lost 25 pounds. How do I keep that 25 pounds off? And we actually have our guy in the chat right now. So this is Gammon, Coach Dezi, and he's wondering, how the hell do I keep this 25 pounds off?
The quick answer is find yourself a program that's comprehensive. There's no easy answer to this. There's a good study that came out that said, and this is, I love that I'm on here. I hope there's a lot of people listening, because this is the unsexy thing to do. I always believe in the unsexy things to do. Mental health. If you want lasting results, get yourself into some sort of mental health support. Not necessarily because there's a undercurrent of a mental health condition, although there could be. But really, the way that our brains are programmed, we are in, this might take a while, but there are habits, right? There's habits that we're in all the time. Sometimes
real quick, take your time. Okay. We got time. As long as you have time, we got time. So however long you need to because this is, you start talking about mental health and eating and dieting, and I'm in fitness, and I train athletes. So however long you need, go ahead. Don't feel rushed.
Oh man, this is great.
I'm really glad that you're bringing this up, Coach Dezi. This was big for me, because I actually used Croc as part of my reasoning for losing weight. And I think that the way that I actually put on the weight was actually from a little bit of depression. So kind of hearing this, I think, is actually huge for people. And, Croc is just kind of, he's a self-starter. So I kind of said when he got himself in shape, I was going to kind of get myself in shape. But yeah, please continue. I'm all ears.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what happens is our brain tries to save as much energy as possible. Okay. So it doesn't, we imagine how much brain power if we had to literally think of every single thing we had to do, from making a sandwich to driving to work to turning on your computer. So it creates these pathways so that it can save brain power. And so we create habits. That's how we create habits. And in order to actually get out of that behavior, sometimes it takes something like cognitive behavioral therapy, where it helps you train yourself to get out of that, recognizing, habits that you probably don't even know that you're doing. Going to the movies and you automatically go in line because you're just used to getting popcorn every time you go to the movies, right? You might not even think about that till you're literally sitting down and like going in and you're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? So, that's really where it is. And it's an investment in your health.
So that's an interesting question. So I actually just took my dad and my son to the movies last night, and that was like the first thing that we did was we went and got one of those big buckets of popcorn, right, and the soda. So if I am going to go, we watched Black Adam, by the way, if anybody was interested. But yeah, so if I am going to the movies, that was kind of the catch, like 22, like what am I supposed to do? Because it's always like get the big bucket of popcorn, right, and the soda. So what is the alternative to that, or is there's
not go to the movies?
No, untrue. I tell people prepare. So eat before you go. And you know what? In these days, I don't know a lot of people that are going to movies that frequently like we used to pre-pandemic. If it's a one-off, like enjoy yourself. You got to live too. And that's where mental health can help you too. Try to refocus on that. But it's not an all or nothing. And I don't love this good, bad stuff, right? Like, oh, I ate something bad. Like I'm going to put you in the corner. Or you're going to, like, no, you're grown. You can make adult decisions. That's and it's okay every now. Like, food, and I just listened to this great podcast the other day, and he said it so great. He said, food's not just, a way to health. Food is also connection. It's culture. It's all of these things. So to deny somebody that all the time kind of also means maybe denial of those, right? Denial of connections, denial of culture. So you got to find a happy place. I mean, the other part of it too is, what is health? That's the bigger question. Health is not what we see on TV. It's not these 6-packs, abs and giant biceps and these girls with, the booty pants that they're showing all over TikTok. It can be, but for most of us, health is not having to take medications. It means not having back pain. It means not being short of breath. It means playing with our kids without getting tired. Like that's health. And we need to start making sure that we know exactly, we're speaking the same language. When we talk health, those are the measures. And it's important to know that versus trying to reach for something that's just, I don't know if I should say this, but you brought it up. You saw Black Adam. Yeah. And my thing is everybody remember what The Rock looked like back in his WWE days?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you see what happened post Hollywood?
I'm not. I mean,
his abs came out. Like there's been some things that have been done to create an image. And I'm raising boys, and I used to think, my boys are 17 and 14. So when they were younger, I never thought, I'll have to worry about body image talks with them. Absolutely not. Like my kids, I remember my kid was in 4th grade and he came to me and he's like, I want Captain America abs. And I was literally like, that's not realistic, because what these people have to do to get that look for that moment in the movie, like they do this crazy extreme stuff just to look that way. And then they shoot those images all together. So they separate out whenever they got to have those images in the movie, they do it all in like a couple days. And so I had to sit down and show my son a video of getting airbrushed, like what Hollywood does to enhance and make that look like that. Like,
wait, so the abs are fake on The Rock?
Yes. Men do it too.
I feel like I just found out Santa Claus wasn't real.
But it was really important for me to share that with him so that he knew what's realistic. I don't want him looking up to a standard that maybe is just not attainable, and it's not attainable for most of us. So yeah, I mean, I could tell you now I could talk all day. 49ers and this is like a dream.
Well, you said something about attainable, right? So just for being transparent and do have you on here. So I was 235, so I got down to like 210. The goal is to be at like 198. I haven't been below 200 in like a while, but I feel like I'm kind of hitting like kind of like a plateau as far as that. So is that just maybe I should, maybe just 210 is just where I should be, or is that I could still go a little bit further? And then my second question would be, you talked about health as far as like pain and that sort of thing. Because when we were talking about the tendonitis in Javon Kinlaw's knees, I'm in the military. I know Croc, he did sports, and I heard some stories about him talking about how they were kind of pumping him up full of drugs just to kind of get him serviceable enough to go out there and walk, which honestly, that frightens me a little bit of just like, holy cow, that's, you weren't really supposed to be able to walk, and then they got you to be able to kind of walk, but not laterally too much. But I just think that eventually you're going to have just pain with the knees. You're going to have pain in the lower back. I mean, it's, I just feel like that's, I don't know. In my mind, I've just kind of dealt with that is just kind of natural kind of health. And is that wrong as well? But, kind of going back to the first question about, can I get down to that magical below that 200 pounds, or am I just, this is probably where I'm at right now?
I'm going to ask you my favorite question.
Okay.
What happens at that number?
I don't know. It's just,
don't worry, I ask every patient this.
Yeah.
The reason why I ask it is because we're so numbers driven. Right. We're so numbers driven. And I ask him, I said, what does, I don't know if he's even, God bless his soul if he's not alive, but does Ed McMahon show up at your house with a check? Does like fireworks shoot off? Does confetti fall from the sky? Like what happens at that number? Because when we get tied to a number, we miss all the other awesome things that are happening in the journey. We're missing the increase of energy. We're missing that we're sleeping better. We're missing that we're, have better endurance, that we have better relationships because we feel good because the endorphins are doing this. We need to start getting away from the number. I even try in my practice not to even talk about the scale. I try to get away from it. A lot of the insurance companies, you have to document it, but that's not. I don't attain to get someone to a journey. I attain to get somebody feeling good. If I say, okay, what if I can get you to 205, but you no longer have knee pain?
Oh, that would be amazing. And
right. So why are we going after the number?
So I think one of the big reasons. So two reasons.
Yeah.
And so for military, it's a little bit different than like the civilian counterparts. But again, I do kind of use Mr. Kroc here as kind of a model, right, for success, because some people actually do, and you probably experienced this too. But some people hate on him because of his success, whereas like I feel like I'm one of those that are here because it's more of like an admiration and just kind of use that as a barometer. I don't know if that's the right way to kind of like phrase it. But for the military folks, right, we have like height and weight limits. So for me being 6'2", at 37 years old, I can only weigh like 211 pounds. So me being at 210, that only kind of gives me like a 1 pound kind of, but if you said like 205, then that frees up some more kind of gives me more left to right limit, if you will. But otherwise though, I mean, hearing Kroc getting down to like 198 kind of makes me go like, if he kind of jumped down there too, and it's noticeable, you can see it in his cheeks and everything like that, noticeable. I'm like, maybe I can do the same thing, but I'm not really too sure, but that's, but yeah, without knee pain or back pain, I mean, that'd be significant. But I've noticed a little bit less pain for sure, just shedding that 25 pounds, definitely. But yeah, being at 205, I mean, having to go out, buy new pants and everything, it feels great. I look good. My wife is more physically attracted to me, so
and
it's
I celebrate it.
Yeah.
I celebrate it.
Yeah.
And you need to write all of it down. I'm serious. That's the other advice I give people. Write every flipping thing down that you notice differently, from tying your shoes to riding a roller coaster for the first time, to wearing your wedding ring that you couldn't wear for 20 years, to fill in the blank. Whatever little thing, you write that down. I'll tell my patients, get a journal, get your phone. If you're just sitting somewhere and that's a new thing, put it down, because there's going to be hard days. And when you have those hard days, you look at that list and you say, look what I have accomplished. And that's going to help give you that little chin up that you need.
That's that mental part.
Yes, yeah. It's meant. That's why I say you got to get that. The other thing is I worked at the military entrance processing station. I'm very familiar with the height weight.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe in some cases you can get a waiver. At least this is eons ago that I did that. But there's always that, because they do, I think, also recognize that we're going to keep picking on The Rock here, but The Rock, right? His BMI is high, but it's not because he's got fat mass. It's his muscle mass.
Right.
And so, yeah, he would probably need a waiver. They're not going to say, "Oh, you can't get in."
Right. Yeah. He's probably like 7% body fat or something like that.
Correct.
But yeah, his BMI would be off the charts. Like as soon as he stepped on the scale, he'd be like, "Holy cow! Like you're out there."
Correct. And I tell patients that all the time. I'm like, BMI is, in my opinion, should not even be used anymore. I think it's archaic. I think that it doesn't give you any kind of value as to what that body composition is. And I personally, again, I got to document it because that's what the medical industry wants. I feel like I'm just getting started to where I can start to, I just spoke at my first conference last month, and I'm looking to do more of those because I just couldn't feel more passionately about it. I think again, numbers, get away from the numbers. Focus more on what's going to make you feel better, because when you feel good, gosh, everything else just becomes easier.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Gammon, I'm going to get you off. So, because I got some other people
You're
here, and Ms. Dezi, or Coach Dezi, she's been more than gracious with her time. So I want to make sure I get her out of here at a decent time. But Gammon, I appreciate you coming on.
You're a saint, Ms. Dezi. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep going.
All right. I did have a couple questions here I want to make sure I get to for you. We got Abraham here, and he says, Coach Dezi, every morning when I wake up, my back is so still, probably talking about being stiff, can't even put my shoes on or socks on. What should I do to get that mobility back?
Yeah, it's oh, this is a loaded question. It's really hard. It would take an evaluation. This is not an easy question to answer. It would take an evaluation to see what else is going on. It's never just simple. In some cases, there's scoliosis. I pick up on scoliosis on people all the time that they never knew they had. And so there's just a little bit more to that question, but stretching is huge, but also core work. And by core work, I don't mean go hit those crunches. It's a different kind of core work. It's deep. Working your transverse abdominis, internal, external obliques, working those types of things. Pelvic floor is really where that goes. But again, it's hard to give a recommendation without seeing you, Abraham. So reach out. I'm happy to help you on the other side.
Right. And that's the last question here for you. Does Dr. Dezi have any socials? I'd love to ask her a couple questions about her practices.
Yeah, so I'm Coach Dezi on all socials. So Instagram and Facebook and all those fun things. Coach Dezi. So just reach out. CoachDezi.com is the easiest way. My business, my practice is Fusion HFX for health and fitness experience. I'd love to hear from all you guys. I'm excited.
Yeah, well, everyone in the chat, they loved you. So, I mean, all I saw was that you have to come back on. Some people said monthly, some people said weekly, but they said you have to have a segment on this show. So I definitely appreciate you coming on and dropping this knowledge. Didn't sound too good for Kinlaw, but we'll see what happens with some of these other guys and how they can bounce back. And like I said, these athletes are made to prove us wrong. So hopefully Kinlaw can, and hopefully this chronic knee injuries don't end up being something that really derails the rest of his career. But Coach Dezi, I really appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you so much. Go Faithful.
Right. Go Faithful. Let's go. All right, that was Coach Dezi right there. Man, that was insightful. That was really good stuff. And originally I told her, like, oh, you'd be on for about 10, 15 minutes. That ended up being a little over 30 minutes, but she was awesome. If you weren't here for the whole time, she did a great job answering and kind of really breaking down exactly what was going on with Javon Kinlaw and his knees as far as what the information that she could gather. All right, because obviously there's a lot of stuff she doesn't know exactly how they went about certain procedures and whatnot. So, but based on what she was able to gather, all the information that's out there, the injuries that he had in college, how it's kind of worked out in the NFL so far, she had an idea of exactly what was going on with him, and didn't sound too good. All right, but we have a couple people that have been waiting for a long time here now. So, Dion, good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Crocky?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good, doing good. How you doing? Or you just said you're doing good. My bad. Anyways, what's up?
No, man. Hey, that was great for you having her on, man. She's definitely very insightful. Sounds like she knows exactly what she's doing, and she's got that thing down packed. So shout out Coach Dezi, man. That's definitely a great thing. Man, that was a hard loss, bro. It was a hard loss. It was even harder to watch. I was like, oh Lord, what's going on here? What are we doing? So even though it was a struggle, man, I honestly was gonna ask her, did she feel like we rushed a couple of people back? Because Trent Williams, when he got beat by, I think it was Frank Clark or Chris or Jones off the edge, and Jimmy took that safety, it looks like it's a blame on both Jimmy and on him, but it just looked bad, man. Like he just didn't look like he had the mobility to stop him from getting there. And it looked like Mooney wasn't ready either, man. I'm wondering if you feel like we're rushing these guys back, or if they're fighting so hard to get on the field. Like what do you think is going on?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. The general rule of thumb, as far as the NFL goes, is if you're on the field, you're healthy. Like that's just kind of their thought process. Yeah. Obviously, we know that's not the case. You could be on the field, but you could be really feeling something. They might inject you with something to kind of help you mask it and be able to get through to play a game. But guys, most of these dudes, man, if they can play, they'll play. and hopefully they do things throughout this week to continue to rehab to get closer to the point where they do feel a lot better. They do feel, closer to 100%. And I would go with the process of just each day try to get 1% better, try to get 2% better each day, and eventually you'll get closer to that 100%.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a weird thing with us, man. Like how we look right now with 3-4. But I think we actually beat the Rams in Levi South, and I think after that bye week, we start to see a couple people come back in. For me, I know a lot of people always look and they're like, "Oh, this guy is negative." I'm not being negative. I'm out on Javon Kinlaw. I'm sorry. Honestly, and it's nothing against him personally. He just has the injury. Even what she said right now, it's just not going to go away. This is something he's going to have to continually deal with, and I really hope that he has a backup plan. That he went back, got his degree, whatever the case may be, because it just doesn't seem like he's able to stay healthy enough to even get on the field and produce. And I can tell you right now, any organization out there with a kid like that, they're not picking up your 5th-year option if you're never on the field, bro. I mean, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, it's nothing against him personally. I like the kid. I like his potential. But the issue is all we have right now is potential. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to overcome that in this moment. With the other guys, like I said, I think they got rushed back. But I honestly feel after the bye week, we get back to what helps us win. And that's the run game. Because the last 2 games, we've been relying on Jimmy to throw, and that's not how we win football games. Whenever we put Jimmy in a situation where he's throwing more than 30 times, we lose. And also, Kyle has gotten down. Whenever he gets down 14-0, his record is like horrible after that. So just looking at the numbers and the statistics and then seeing the games, just watching them, it's a situation where we're not ready. We could have come back in that Atlanta game. Just the offense didn't do anything. Because the second half, with 8 minutes left, the defense shut them down from that point on. They scored nothing else, not even a field goal. So the offense had chances. They just weren't able to convert. So the inconsistencies, the penalties are killing us. There's a lot of things that we have to clean up and get better. But I think we get better against the Rams. We pull off that W, go into the bye week with some nice momentum. You see Tevin Coleman's cut. Hopefully that signals Elijah Mitchell coming back. And I honestly think a backfield with a 1-2 punch of Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I think you're going to see a heavy dose of CMC in this next game. I think Kyle's going to say, you know what? He looked really good in the limited amount of snaps that he had. I think there's only one time where he actually got stopped for a loss. So I honestly think that this game we see a heavy dose of CMC, and we see him, setting up things to help us get better. And that'll help Jimmy in turn because Jimmy's a rhythm guy. He doesn't have a rhythm going, he's not going. Right. So we'll see next week, man. But I appreciate you having me on, Croc. I'll let you get to the other people. Everybody out there, stay strong, stay faithful. And it's finally cold in Arizona, goddammit. You see, I got a hoodie on.
It's starting to get cold in Arkansas. You see, I got the hoodie on too. So
yes, sir.
I'm in the same boat, man.
All right, Crocky. Nothing but love, baby. Peace.
All right, bro. Shout out to my guy, Dion. Hold on 1 second. Y'all got some super chats here. And we are right here. Here we go. All right, so we answered that question. I know I follow her on Instagram now. So if I can, I'll maybe post her Instagram in the chat. Hey, Croc, question for you. My man, I feel like when I lose weight, I lose quick intricate strength in my legs, but it's so hard to get that mass on them. What can I do to attain more mass? Also, is cardio a must for weight loss? Okay, these are great questions here. So everybody has their different kind of philosophies on things. I can go out and run 2 miles every day and be in a caloric deficit, right? And I will lose weight, but I won't. I'll in that process, I will definitely lose strength as well. I will lose strength as well, and I can feel it. All right. And then I can see it in the numbers of, some of the reps that I'm doing and things like that. And it's like, man, this is not quite right. Or, oh man, usually I hit, between 9 to 11 reps here and I'm struggling just to get to 9. And I can feel that. So, cardio, and it depends on who you listen to. You can get cardio in the sense of your heart rate, rising and lowering and whatnot, just by picking up the intensity in your workout. Like, I think most people, when they hear cardio, is like, oh, I got to go for a run, or I got to run on the treadmill, and it's like, no, like, if you just take shorter rest between your sets while you're lifting weights, that's kind of a form of cardio as well. You'll definitely be a little bit better with building the muscle that you want. As far as weight loss, I wouldn't even focus so much on weight loss. I like how Coach Dezi was on here, and she talked about not paying attention to a number, because that's how me. Oh man, I'm gonna get down to 195, and like she said, well, what happens when you get to 195? Like, why that number? And maybe I think we correlate a number with a look, but really, if you work out hard, you don't eat all that junk, your body will transform in general. You'll lean out and all that. So there's not like just this one way, but I would say if you want to do some cardio, probably limit it a little bit. I don't want to give you bad advice because there's so many different things out there, but I've cut back drastically on my cardio in the sense of running miles, and maybe once a week I'll go on a jog, and it's more of a it's like I'll go on a 2-mile jog and have like 7.5 minute pace. So I am kind of moving a little bit, but for the most part, man, get your cardio in by lifting and building muscle. You'll burn fat as well. So good things there. I don't want to get bad. There's so much different things out there, different studies and whatnot, but I try to use myself as kind of a gauge on what's happening with my body. Now listen to Mind Pump. Listen to Mind Pump. That's a great podcast. Listen to Mind Pump. I suggest everybody. Matter of fact, if you look at what I was listening to right now on, let's see, was it on this phone? Hold on. What's up right now? Mind Pump. I was just listening to it. So if y'all don't listen to Mind Pump, man, check out Mind Pump. It's a great podcast. The best podcast for health and fitness. It's the best. I hope I answered the question. Had another super chat here from Bass Spokane, and he says, with Bosa playing as fast as he does, it's hard to keep the edge. Would moving Bosa to the interior slow him down and make him more effective? I see what you're saying. I think Bosa playing as fast as he does is more of a product of the defense, right? That wide 9 getting upfield right now, right? Like that's the wide 9. Boom, they're shooting upfield. So I would assume that's why he's playing, as opposed to he just wants to play 1,000 miles an hour. The wide 9 they're getting upfield, from what I've been told. I'm not an edge rush specialist or anything like that, but yeah, appreciate the contribution. And last question real quick before I get to the last 2 callers. Is there a podcast that you regularly listen to for motivation, mental health, etc.? Not so much mental health. I listen to a lot of entrepreneurial type stuff. I did listen to a lot of Andy Frisella. I listened to a lot of Andy Frisella. But throughout the process, he changed and it got like a little bit more political than I want to listen to every day. Like now, if you like start off a show with it, like it's cool, but he kind of completely changed a lot of what it was that he was talking about. It was a very business, entrepreneur mindset. I thought Andy Frisella was great with it. And then it turned into just every day. Like it did a complete 180 where it went from, you could tell some of his views on things like that. And that's cool. All right. 10 minutes out of a show, 15 minutes already. But if I'm listening to for an hour and a half, and then it just goes completely more so to like 5% entrepreneur mindset type stuff, and then like, 95% a little bit more political. It's like, well, that's not why I started listening to you. So you can have I like listening to a different perspective. So when he did get on the political stuff, I'm fine with that. Like I can listen to that because it's different. Like, and I want to know why do they think the way that they think, why does that differ from my mindset? So those are things I like to listen to, but not for an entire show. So I used to listen to a lot of Andrew Frisella, not as much anymore. I do listen to a lot of Ben Baller, and he's probably an acquired taste. He is more of a journal for him. But I listen to Ben Baller, and I'd have to look and see. There's probably a couple other ones I listen to as well. Politics and business go hand in hand. Politics and business go hand in hand, but it wasn't just like politics. It's hard to explain. It wasn't just like, hey man, like, they want this policy and this policy is going to hurt our business because of this, and then tax breaks, whatever, right? That's not what it was. It was like, oh man, this happened here because this lady, and because, she thinks like this, so you got to talk like that. That part was hard. And it got away from what it originally was in its entirety. All right, here we go. We got Damon coming on. He's been very patient. Damon, good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today, Croc?
Oh man, I'm chilling. I'm doing good.
So real quick, and thank you. I've been kind of back and forth trying to get on because I'm having issues with the vehicle this morning. So that's why I've had to kind of back and forth. Anyway, so I was kind of hoping to ask this to Coach Dezi. Maybe she'll hear this and she can kind of get back to you. So one of the things I've heard a lot of players talk about the different turf and turf conditions like that. George Kittle's been very vocal about it, but he's not the only one. There's a lot of players that are very vocal about the lack of continuity in turf. But one of the things, I've never heard a player who plays on turf complain about having to play on grass. So My question is, why don't they have practice fields all turf? If all the practice fields are turf and your body is adapting to playing on turf, wouldn't you have less injuries when you then have to go play on turf, even if it's a few times a year? And does that make sense? Or is it just too hard?
The issue isn't that you play on turf or practice on turf and then your body will adjust to being able to be on the turf. It's more so of the result of what can happen while playing on turf, if that makes sense. So when in the ACL, it's your foot gets stuck in the ground, the turf doesn't give like grass will. So if your foot gets stuck and then you get bent a certain way, then your foot doesn't give a kick out from underneath you because it's stuck in the turf, and then now all of a sudden, boom, tear an ACL or something like that. That's not something that you can truly prepare for by practicing on turf.
So the reason I ask this is because the body is extremely adaptive. For instance, a bodybuilder's bone density is significantly higher than the bone density of, say, a runner, right? Or a video gamer or something, like somebody who doesn't lift heavy stuff all the time, right? Your body is going to adapt to the punishment that you're giving it, to what you're asking it to do daily. And I wonder if there's a correlation. Do your joints, do your tendons, do your muscle fibers, do they adjust to the lack of give that turf has? Would that in the long run actually prevent some of those injuries?
Okay.
So you're constantly preparing your body to play on that surface. And so some of those injuries don't happen because your body is now adjusted to playing on that surface. It's just a thought. I didn't know if she would know any of that.
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either. I'd love to get that answer. Yeah,
we'll see if she can give us the answer for that, though. I'll see.
So
and at some point, we're gonna have her back on. We gotta have her back on. Right?
Awesome. I would love to just 2 minutes of questions. Anyway, so to answer one of those questions from earlier about gaining muscle mass, so one of the things that is commonly overlooked, and it kind of goes with the whole leave your ego at the door thing, right? And what Coach Dezi was talking about as far as doing the unsexy things. So what's hard to understand is that, let's say your bench press is 185 pounds, right? That's your max. Your actual chest muscles can lift 500 or 600 pounds. It's the shoulders, the triceps, right? There's 3 muscles in here. There's 2 on the front, 1 more back here. And then you have all the small fibered muscles that connect everything, and the quick twitch muscles and all that stuff. all of those things are not strong enough to support pushing 500 pounds.
Right.
So your chest can't get bigger until all those other muscles catch up to allow the chest to grow. And it's the same thing in your quads. If you're just doing squats all the time and you're not doing hip flexors, if you're not doing abductors, if you're not doing all the unsexy drills that allow all the small stuff to grow and to catch up to those gigantic quad muscles that you have, almost everybody's legs are capable of squatting a house. It's the other smaller muscles, the stuff that connects your lower back to your glutes, are probably the most important muscle groups in the body. For daily function, for overall strength, that's what she was talking about, core muscles. Core muscles are not just abs. And it's not just
there's a lot of people,
even.
I think they think it's strengthening your core. They think it's like, oh, well, I got to work my abs. I got to do plank holds. And really, it's everything that builds up to the core.
Yeah, and that's just important. It's not like that stuff isn't important. But like your lower back and the connections that your lower back makes to your lower body are probably the most important connections in the human body, not only for strength, but for functionality too. But anyway, yeah, so just, if you want to grow your legs, you have to spend 6 weeks really focusing on fine-tuning the smaller areas, the smaller muscles, the abductors. Spend 45% of your time doing the high rep, low weight, the hip thrusters that look goofy as hell in the gym, and nobody wants to be seen doing right. Those hip flexors, right? It's like, but that's, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. You have to do the little stuff, otherwise you can't do the big stuff.
Yeah.
So, lastly, to touch on the mental health thing they were talking about earlier, what a lot of people don't understand is that you cannot have one without the other. You can't have good mental health and good physical health. Almost nobody is in extremely good physical shape and is absolutely bad mental health. Now, they may have, I'm not saying they don't have some sort of mental health issue with stuff, but for the most part, most of the people that are in really good shape are also balanced mentally. And on the other side of things, it's extremely hard to get your mental health in shape if you're not physically in shape, because it's all just a chemical neurobiological reaction. What she was talking about is NLP, which is neuro-linguistic passageways, which is all the connectors in the brain that tell each person what to do, right? If you count to 3, 1, 2, 3, well, like, why did you hold your hand up? Why did you use these 3 fingers and not these 3? Like, your brain makes all those decisions, 1,000 decisions every split second. You're aware of like 2 of them. So everything that she said was so on the money for how to actually get yourself well, which is way more important than looking good in the mirror. Looking good in the mirror helps because it helps your confidence. It's like the only thing it actually benefits. Again, important. That, like, we shouldn't overlook that being confident in who you are and how you look is one of the most important things to mental health. But that's not all there is. There's so much more that goes into just being a healthy person, and it has nothing to do with the scale. Get off the scale.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So that's all.
Well,
I really want to know about the turf stuff, man.
All right, we'll try to get the answers to that, man. I appreciate you coming on and spend some knowledge on here.
Always, man. And I love coming on here, man. I really do. Like, subscribe, awesome. Over there somewhere.
All right, appreciate you, Damon.
Take.
Hey, and the cool thing about Damon too, he's just as knowledgeable as he is about health and fitness. He is about the 49ers as well. He comes on and he has some really good talks about the 49ers and things like that. So really good person to come on here. Here we go. We got Gammon here. He says, is there a podcast? Oh, well, we talked about that one. We talked about that too. We got Gammon talking. Mike Shields talking about interval training is tough. We got Ricky Rawls here. He says, I'm sure McKay sees our weak defensive line. How do we cover that up next week? You know what? 49ers, that is an underrated storyline. The 49ers, and we've talked about a lot of other things, but the D-line has not been great. How much do they miss Javon Kinlaw? How much do they miss Eric Armstead? How much do they miss DJ Reed? I think we're feeling the repercussions of some of those guys being out. That's a big loss. Just those 3 right now. DJ Reed, he ain't coming back. But man, Armstead not being out there on the field, I think that's been really tough. on the 49ers as of late. So got to get Armstead back. Did I say DJ Reed? I mean DJ Jones. Did I say DJ Reed? Those dudes, I don't know. Yeah. DJ Jones. My bad, y'all. My bad. Don't get me. I told you about the time where they were like, Croc, can't make the mistake saying Hufanga went to UCLA. It's like, dude, I don't know, man. I just said he went to USC. Then I don't know, had a brain fart. I just had a brain fart. I know who DJ Jones is. I know who DJ Reed is. I had a brain fart. My bad. Don't kill me. Don't post this on Twitter and be like, Croc don't know who DJ Jones is. All right, here we go. Last caller, man. We got San Francisco Bay drummer. Good morning, man. How you doing, bro?
What's good, Croc? Man, I hate to be the last call and be a negative Nancy, but I just as much as I know we pretty much typically own the Rams and can beat them and have shown that we can, just after last Sunday showing, even though it's an outlier that we got beat that bad, I can't just have all the confidence in the world and say we can beat the Rams. The offense has to step up. I know Chris McCaffrey, he's a new guy and everything like that, but we have the players that's been with us that we should be scoring more than 23 points. Throwing an alley hoop in the end zone for interception is just inexcusable. It's crazy. But, hopefully, maybe we can get 23 points again next week. I could see that, maybe more. But we just need to we need to do better. I need the offense to really pick it up. And I don't know what John Lynch is doing. I don't know if he's combing for some trades for some interior defensive linemen. Suh's still out there. I don't know why we're not signing him. He can clog up some space in the middle. Even if he can't get any push, but that allows for Bosa and whoever else, to try to, get inside and get the QB. I don't know what we're doing. That's some reason why it's hopefully this front office changed a little bit over the offseason, because John Lynch, go to team president so you can be the camera guy. Let Adam Peters do his thing, and let's get some help for Shanahan where, he can just worry about play calling, because some of this stuff is just not working. And, I believe Kyle's seat is hot. And, if he gets fired, I'm okay. I'm A-okay with D'Amico Ryans being the head coach. I think we would be A-okay. There's some offensive minds out there that can utilize Trey Lance and utilize the offense for the better. I mean, I'm a Warriors fan, so, Kyle Shanahan could almost be like a Mark Jackson, and we just need that one person to come in next year that has really unlocked everything and know how to utilize and build everyone's strengths to their potential. So, well, go Niners. Hopefully we don't lose anymore, because I think we're about 3 losses away from posts on the timeline saying, win or lose, I'm forever faithful. So, let's go Niners. Let's get this wins back. Let's get to the playoffs, get to the dance, and hopefully come away with a trophy. Maybe.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully. With a little, hey, that's funny. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but I don't know, man. I can see that.
That means
that's
the season
funny
over
right
when you see those posts in trending.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
All right.
All right. That's funny. That's funny right there, because that's dead ass. That's for sure serious. We got Damon back on. Damon, what's up, man?
Hey, so real quick, 2 things I forgot I can't believe we were talking about Jaron Kinlaw and I didn't talk about the defensive line. I'm stupid. Sorry. So one of the things that Fred Warner talked about last year when they asked him about his turnaround late in the season was the return of DJ Jones. DJ Jones was arguably the biggest loss this offseason that any team had, because when you keep Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw clean, and all that really means is they are not having to get blocked. They're not getting blocked by interior offensive linemen. When guards get to the second level, you can't stop the run game. I don't care. So losing Eric Armstead, who, by the way, when they moved him inside last year, you guys talk about this all the time on Locked On 49ers. Shout out Locked On 49ers. How Eric Armstead being moved inside totally changed our run defense last year.
Yeah.
Him and DJ Jones next to each other, keeping the interior offensive line off of Fred Warner makes our run defense the number one run defense in football. Because Fred Warner is a heat-seeking missile. But if he has to go through a 300-pound, 6'5" dude, he's not going to get there. It's unrealistic. And one thing that people don't like, once you get to the NFL as an offensive lineman, you're really good at staying in front of people. I don't care if you're a starter, a second string, or third string guy. You're a giant human who's very good at staying in front of other people. It's that simple. So that's one thing. People are, I think, not understanding the value of somebody like Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw is a giant human being that everybody says, like, he's standing next to Eric Armstead, who said he's big. Like, I don't know how much more you need that stamped. Okay, having him in the middle of your defensive line changes everything. Paying him something like $6 to $8 million a year, even 10, would drive a lot of people nuts. It would be worth every penny if you got 8 to 10 games out of him, honestly, because that's 8 to 10 games where he totally changes what your defense is capable of. And I know that's not the sexy thing to say because he's missed time and because he doesn't make splash plays. But when you actually watch the tape, he eats so many blocks. It takes 2, sometimes 3 people to get him off the spot. It changes the entire structure of how the run defense. Anyway, aside from that, if the defensive line doesn't play better, we're going to struggle to go 500 the rest of the way. Even against our defensive line is playing way below average. It's primarily, obviously, when you lose 3 of your 4 starters and your 4th guy is like an average starter. I'm sorry, Ebukam he's an average starter. You're not doing anything. The back end, the back 7 this year is very good. It doesn't matter how good they are if the defensive line can't do their job. Patrick Mahomes sat back there very comfortably. We talked about this last week. You have to do something exotic. You have to show them something that, and they did it. You go back and watch the game midway through the third quarter, about 5 minutes left. They started running it. They ran a TE stunt, got him off his spot, incomplete pass, wild throw. Next play, Nick Bosa sack. Next play, 57-yard Mecole Hardman to the house. People forget the 2 plays before that when they actually finally got pressure. And they would start. It's just like every time they would start doing something, some explosive would happen. And it's just, people don't really talk about explosives enough. They're more important than turnovers because an explosive almost always scores. A turnover doesn't always score. Turnover gives you an opportunity to score. An explosive, most of those go to the house. Managing the explosive plays, both on offense and defense, is the critical element. And if your offensive defensive line suck, you're not getting any explosives. I gotta hate it, man. I can't even hardly say it. We're a bad football team right now. Yeah. We're the things that good football teams do, and the things that bad football teams do. That we're right there. We're penalties, turnovers, lack of explosives, bad third down conversion rates in critical situations. We're a terrible situational football team, and that's something that bothers me about Kyle. I guess I'll touch on that last. So Kyle Shanahan, I've explained kind of what I think he does well and what I think he does poorly. But the 2 things where it seems to be a trend, he struggles to adjust to his game plan late. And for some reason, he just seems to be so bad situationally. And I really didn't start thinking about this stuff. It's really because you started to ask the questions. Why? Why is the offense like this? We have the weapons. We have the coaching. Our coaching staff on offense is stacked from bottom to top. Why can't the offense move the ball? It's ridiculous. There's no reasonable expectation, and it's time to ask. Kyle Shanahan was obviously the right coach at the right time. He rebuilt this into a winning team, a winning culture. He rebuilt a franchise that was in the absolute basement.
Yeah.
But is he the coach moving forward? Is he the guy that's going to continue to elevate? It is harder to maintain success than it is to achieve it. He might not be the guy to maintain it.
Yeah, but all right, Damon, I got one more caller, so I'm gonna get you out of here and get this last caller on. All right, here we go. We got my guy Chris. Chris, what up, man?
What's up, Croc?
Nice Twitter or little profile picture.
I know, man. I got to do it since y'all be hating on them. You know, my locked on 49ers people been hating on McCaffrey. Grant been hating on McCaffrey. Well, not him per se, but the trade. So, you know,
wait, hold on. No.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. You know, I got a few things I got to get off my chest. Some fans was trying to press Peacock, and then you had to step in about the whole Aaron Banks thing. Croc, what's going on, Croc? But let me say this. I mean, you talked about this about value, right? For you, it's about value, correct?
Yes.
So
the value of a running back.
Okay, so my issue though is if the 49ers basically have about 8 or 9 picks next year's draft, what does it matter that we traded a few picks away from McCaffrey?
It's not just the picks for McCaffrey though; it's the money too.
Oh yeah, you talked about the money. Listen, the sacrifices you got to make, okay?
Oh, okay, so now you just switched up your whole tone.
No. No, I heard you talking about the money on Locked On today, and you have to make there's sacrifices you're gonna have to make. Some players got to go. This is why you draft. Because some players got to go. So who you think would be like? Who you think would probably have to go because of McCaffrey? Just give me 2 players.
Armstead, Jimmy Ward.
Jimmy Ward is, as you can see, is actually pretty replaceable. As we've seen this year. Don't go there, Croc.
I think the safeties that are playing right now, they have done a tremendous job. Like they are on fire. So I guess from that standpoint, right, if they can hold up to playing at this level, which they are playing at an elite level right now, then I could see Ward being replaceable.
Now, Armstead, that's the one I would say, okay, we're going to have to figure something out because Armstead, when Armstead plays well, this 49ers defense is unstoppable. And it wasn't when they put Armstead on the inside because he was actually playing on the inside. He was rotating inside, outside last year.
He was base situations. He's likely playing that in passing situations, likely playing inside.
Yeah, so
and that's kind of been his usage for a while.
But there was some point. There was some point in the season. I won't say it was the Rams game because that's what I was pointing to. I think it was maybe 2 games prior to where he became like full time. He became full time, almost dang near full time on the inside.
I think it was with the injury of Kinlaw.
Yeah. So when he became full time inside, it took him a couple of games to kind of get to really get adjusted, and that run defense never looked back. So I would say he's probably the only one I'd be like, okay, it would be hard to lose somebody like him because as much as 49er fans like to hate on him, that's one player that I know when he plays well, this defense turn up. When he was getting sacks last year, when he was getting sacks last year, we had the 5-sack game against the Rams. We had the 5-sack game against the Cowboys. We had the 5-sack game against the Green Bay Packers. Unfortunately, against the Rams in the playoffs, he didn't have no sacks, and this defense got 2 overall sacks, and that all came from Bosa. This defense goes as Arik Armstead goes, and a lot of people hated on this guy. Oh, we Buckner, all Armstead.
Dynamic Dove disagrees with you. He says Armstead is way overpaid and not the reason Jones was the man.
Well, Dynamic Dave, we literally just gave you actual facts on how Armstead helped this defense play. We don't have Armstead right now, and look how our defense has been playing. Our defensive lineman. When Armstead, DJ Jones was there, he was there. and this defense was still giving up 100-yard rushers every other game last year. Go look at the numbers. We were giving up over like 105, 110 yards a game. And then when Armstead settled in after 2 games being full-time on the inside, this defense was completely different. They went on a streak and it went into this year where it was like 18 straight games, 17 or 18 straight games where we didn't give up 100 yards whatsoever. So Dynamic Dave, maybe you need to, find some stats. I understand DJ Jones was very good. He was very good last year, but he was very good with Ark Armstead. And we wasn't missing DJ Jones this year in the first couple of games. Kinlaw and Armstead was unstoppable. And even without Armstead, even without Kinlaw, this defense was dang near putting up historic numbers. But both of them are hurt. I guarantee you, when Ark Armstead comes back and when Kinlaw comes back, you won't even think of DJ Jones. DJ Jones wasn't even a thought the first 4 games of the season. First maybe 5. I mean, we didn't even do that bad. We didn't even do bad against the Falcons, Crop. Both running backs against the Falcons had 50 yards, and they both averaged 3 yards per carry. So we can't even say this defense did bad the past 2 games. Remember, the offense gave up points in the Falcons game. The defense only gave up 21 points. I mean, it was Mariota's rushing that killed us. He had 8 carries for 50-something yards.
Right.
But those 2 running backs did literally nothing. Now, the Chiefs game, and it wasn't even inside. It wasn't even in the interior. The Chiefs killed us on the edge. It was all on the edge. Bosa, Ebucom, Drake Jackson. I seen Drake Jackson get ran past on the edge. I seen Bosa get ran past on the edge. And the Chiefs did a great job in scheming on how they was doing that. So, listen. This defense is not going to play like that again. I can guarantee you that. Remember, 2019.
They said you lying in the chat. They said you lying through your teeth.
Lying about what?
What you're saying?
What about lying about? Tell me.
I don't know. I'm just telling you what they said.
Did I say any lie? Did you hear anything that's not true?
I think you make some valid points.
Hey, I can't see the chat. It's unfortunate.
Dynamic Dub said that you're lying because Armstead doesn't stop the run and to hang up on you.
Okay.
So I'm gonna listen to Dynamic Dub and hang up on you. Just kidding.
Hey, wait. Hey, see, this is how he's a casual. I'm sorry, Dynamic Dave, you're a casual. Armstead, when everybody
is that Dave? I think I was saying Dove. My bad. I don't got my glasses on, but yeah, go ahead.
It's Dave or Dove. I don't know. I don't really care his name. But actually, when everybody was talking about how bad Armstead was, because everybody because he wasn't getting the sack numbers, he was actually one of the best. His strength was in stopping the run.
Yeah, one of the best run stoppers in the league. If not the best. Listed as a defensive end, he was like the best best run stopping defensive end in the league.
Yeah, and last year, him and DJ Jones was top 5 in the league in run stops. So if I'm lying, Dave, maybe you should go look at those numbers and tell me that I'm wrong, because I actually can go post those numbers and I can post them on Twitter for you to see. So if I'm lying, you better prove to me that I'm lying, because Ark Armstead was one of the best run stoppers in the league. So maybe, again, like I said, you're a casual.
Somebody just said that you don't know football. Bro, I'm just telling you what they said in chat.
I know. I'm saying who? They tell them to come up here. Give them the link. Tell them.
It's almost time to.
No, Croc, just give them 5 minutes.
We got to pick back up on this tomorrow.
Okay, fine. Well, no, you gotta see if they gonna come on, because they never like to come on and talk.
Dynamic Dave or Dynamite Dave. I keep calling him Dynamic.
Not just him.
It's Dynamite Dave. Dynamite Dave. Do you want to come on? You want to come on the show?
He ain't gonna come on. He not built like that.
And Hung Meow.
He said, this dude was not alive when I was watching Diners at Kezar. We don't care. You too old to understand football. Old people shouldn't be watching football if you don't understand it. Oh man, it's 1969. You old, you see? That's a problem right there.
Hey, speaking of people that don't know football, clearly Greg Pinelli doesn't know football based on the comments in the film review from last night.
Oh, really? They was getting on Greg. Hey, what's up, Greg?
Greg is a Jimmy Garoppolo apologist, according to the chat, and he just makes excuses for it.
I watched y'all yesterday. Greg Pinelli really broke it down. I remember before the season, I was saying Debo was a very good route runner, and I was very wrong. And then with Greg showing these clips, man, that's an indictment on Debo. So y'all did a great job yesterday. I really enjoyed that the film breakdown. And shout out to can we cut up that little Hufanga clip that you did? You were showing how Hufanga broke on the ball. Yeah. I need you to cut that as a clip. But it looks like Dynamic Dave is not coming on, so I called him out.
It's Dynamite Dave.
Dynamic, Casual Dave. I don't care. He don't want to come on, unfortunately. So Croc, I'm gonna let you in your show. You can't speak in the chat, and then when somebody call you out, you don't want to show up. So
that's typically how it works, though.
Yeah, that's casuals. But all right, Croc, you have a good one.
All right. Ellen Armstead, bad against the run is most ignorant take. I agree. He's actually pretty good, especially on the end. That's why the 49ers play them at defensive end a lot, especially in base situations. You want to go more towards that too high defense. The too high defense, you got to be a little bit more stout versus run because you have one less guy in the box. So you want to get bigger at the defensive end spot to kind of anchor down that edge. And he did a great job of that. So for people who, what is it saying? Why is he an edge rusher? He's not an edge rusher. He's a run-stopping edge rusher for a defense that wants to play more too high. You need that big end out there to kind of anchor that. He buzzing at 10:46 a.m. in the morning. Delusional. Croc, what do you think about RG3's comments? What I think about RG3's comments is really, we've been talking about this. I've talked about this. I've said exactly, look, someone asked me about when Trey Lance got hurt. Matter of fact, well, let's back it up. JT O'Sullivan was on my guy Jesse Naylor's podcast, Last Second Sports. And somebody asked JT, who gives the 49ers the better chance to win more games? Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, again, this is prior to the season or whatever. So we're talking about healthy Trey Lance. But they asked Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, who gives them the better chance? And JT O'Sullivan said, I'm going to take it a step further. He said, I think you're asking this question wrong. It's not about who gives you the best chance to win more games. It's about who gives you the best chance to win a Super Bowl. And if that's the question, he said the answer is Trey Lance. Now, it's JT O'Sullivan, so don't kill me. All right. But the reason why he said that is because essentially I think we know what Jimmy Garoppolo is and what he needs. And I think this is what RG3 was alluding to. Jimmy Garoppolo is someone that can that benefits off of the more ideal scenario. But you're not going to look to Jimmy Garoppolo as the reason the 49ers won, but definitely a piece of that, and typically does more to help you win than to help you lose, right? We know that, and I don't think that it takes a rocket scientist to kind of see that. And that's all RG3 was saying. Now, as far as, and then it's funny though, because Kurt Warner responded. It was like, nah, basically what you're asking for is Josh Allen and he said Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Outside of them, everybody else, they're going to need some help or whatever. But he rattled off a bunch of names of quarterbacks that RG3. And he said, with all due respect, OG, that's what RG3 said to Kurt Warner. But he rattled off a bunch of quarterbacks that he felt like the 49ers would be better off having than Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'll let y'all kind of go through and kind of find that on Twitter, but it was a good little I felt the same way. Greg and I broke down the 49ers film last night, offensively, Jimmy Garoppolo, etc. And people say that Greg is making excuses for Jimmy Garoppolo. That's not what he's doing. He's talking about what's going on. But the one thing that's clear is if the other guys don't do everything to a T, then you'll get those type of results from Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's kind of my bigger thing. Whereas like at some point, like on some of these, can you overcome this? Or if the receiver doesn't do this, can you buy time and then make a play off script and really help like and kind of be a guy to where I can overcome some of these scenarios. Now, I'm not saying Trey Lance is that or anybody else right now. I don't know. But I do know that that's not really Jimmy Garoppolo's game. So y'all in the chat last night talked about making an excuse for him. Not making an excuse for him. He's just talking about, hey, this is why this didn't work, etc. But that ties into what RG3 was saying in the sense of he needs everything to be more ideal. But great show today, y'all. Great show. Appreciate y'all, man. Shout out to Coach Dezi. If y'all weren't in here for Coach Dezi's, she was on for about 30 minutes. She did an amazing job. Oh, that was good. Good stuff. I appreciate her. Appreciate her coming on. I saw the chat, man. Y'all were saying she got to come on. She got to come on more. She got to come on again. She needs to come on at least once a week. She needs to come on at least once a month. She needs her own segment. I heard y'all, and I'll make sure I make it happen. So shout out to everybody that's tuned in to the chat today. I appreciate all y'all. There we go. Appreciate everybody. I'm out of focus now. Is it because my mic? No? There we go. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in. Everybody that contributed. It's been a great show, great conversation. Love all y'all. I'll be back tomorrow. Won't be here Friday because I'll be traveling to California. How to party. All right, anyways, but I'll be traveling to Cali, taking my wife. I'll see y'all at John Chapman's event in Los Angeles. I'm in there like swimwear. You feel me? And I'll be at the game, and I'll be tailgating with John Chapman and everybody, rocking with all y'all. So for Chapman's event, and maybe I'll bring on Chapman tomorrow. Make sure that y'all get y'all tickets. Get your tickets ahead of time, man. And we did the tailgate. I did the tailgate with Chapman in Atlanta, and it was awesome. It was right next to the stadium. And they have food, they have drinks, they have all type of stuff. It's a little pricey, but for what you get for the price, man, I thought it was an excellent tailgate. So I'll be tailgating. Wherever John Chapman's going to be at tailgate, I'll be there. And make sure y'all there Saturday as well, because we're going to turn up. I think he got the place from like 3 to 7 on Saturday. It was something along those lines. So we're going to turn up from 3 to 7. Let's go. But until then, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm out. Peace, motherfuckers.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Crocker. Over midfield, he'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Not so bad. I'm back. Make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. And I feel like when I do that, I'll just watch Black Adam, right? I watch Black Adam with my kids, with my son, and we knew the sit, man. They're gonna break from the credits, and there's gonna be some kind of scene, and it was very clear that Black Adam 2 is coming out. So I ain't gonna tell y'all what happened when it came back. I ain't gonna tell y'all. But it was I loved it. I thought Black Adam was really good. I thought it was really good. Listen, I don't do the whole movie Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. I saw it on my timeline, and I saw that Rotten Tomatoes did not give it a good score. I went and watched it. Now listen, I'm not some, and this is I mean this respectfully, I'm not like this comic nerd or anything like that. My uncle, he bought me all kinds. I probably got a bunch of comic books around here, but not saying I read all of them or anything like that. But it was I thought it was really good. I go watch a movie. I take my kids. Really, you know what I'm saying? I'm in California. I got my kids with me. I want to watch a good movie. And I thought The Rock did his thing. I thought he was excellent. The kid, it could have been a little better. The kid could have been a little better. But overall, between the storyline, some of the fight scenes, the Hawk, man, he was a little, I don't know. If you imagine like RG3 playing a superhero, he was kind of like that. But overall, I thought the movie was good. I thought the movie was good. So, yeah. So make sure y'all go check that out, man. Check that out. I like The Rock, so you know what I'm saying. But anyways, now I'm out. Peace out, motherfuckers. Peace.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Crocker over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace.